Now, you guys at home, don't go anywhere quite yet, because right after the break, we're talking Black History Month with celebrity historian Raffi Andonian.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back into North Dakota today. Well, with the excitement of Oscar season and the buzz around the nominees, we are joined by celebrity historian Raffi Andonian to share some pioneering stories from the Academy Awards historic moments now during Black History Month. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Here I am. We're excited for the award season, certainly.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so excited to discuss this topic with you. So let's jump right into it. Tell me, who was the first African-American winner at the Oscars?
A lady named Hattie McDaniel. She won Best Supporting Actress, and she did so in Gone with the Wind, of course, a 1939 huge blockbuster hit. Now, it's worth focusing on Gone with the Wind for a moment. I'm sure you've heard of it. Many viewers have heard of it. Gone with the Wind was a massive hit in a way that I think we have a hard time comprehending. I'll give you an example. It sold 200 million tickets over the course of its run, and it stayed in theaters for almost 4 years because it was such a consistent hit. The population of the United States at the time was 120 million. So that means that everyone in the United States would have to go almost twice to equal that number of tickets that they sold. So you're talking about a massive hit, and Hattie McDaniel plays a role to the main character. There she is on the right over there. And so as a result of her role, she wins that Best Supporting Actress, first Black person to do so. Now, what's interesting about her is that she came up on the side of music and radio originally. She's also a well-known vocalist. So if you go on YouTube and you type in her name, you will actually see a lot of clips of her performing, singing as well. So she had originally started in the 20s, the era of radio, going around doing radio live, performances, as well as live performances in live theater. Gets a Hollywood break in the 1930s, mostly playing a role in Hollywood films for Black women at the time, which was kind of as housemaids and house servants. And she got some criticism for that from people like the NAACP. But she said that I would rather play a maid on screen than be a maid in real life. And so she used that as a way to advance herself and make good money at the time with 40 different roles in Hollywood films in the 1930s by the time she gets to Gone with the Wind, which is 1939 at the very end of that. Now today she's also commemorated because she has that postage stamp that was done for her about 20 years ago that some collectors may have that has Hattie McDaniel on it. So she certainly left her mark as a legacy.
Well, I just love her, and Gone with the Wind is actually my favorite film.
There you go.
I feel like, yes, I feel like her performance as Mammy was truly unforgettable.
That's right.
I just love her performance in this too because she was more than a house servant, like you mentioned. She literally held the household together. She was a female role model for the main character. So I just love this
because that was one of the things she mentioned, Sophia, is that she tried to play the role in a way that showed strength, so that even if she was cast into those roles, she was trying to shine some strength for Black women in that situation. And you picked up on that in what you just described.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, shout out. I just love that movie. I tell everyone that's my favorite movie. All right, well, let's shift over to the men. Who was the first to win Best Actor?
Now, she won Best Supporting Actress, right? So the first time you have a Black person win any lead role, and the men, is Best Actor, which is Sidney Poitier. Now, he died a few years ago, but for him, it was Lilies in the Field in 1964. So there he is on the left side of your screen. Now, what's interesting about him is that a couple of things. One, he's only the second Black person to win any Oscar since Hattie McDaniel did more than 20 years prior. So there was a gap there. But also, and there's a film that you're seeing right there. Yep, you see the film that won the Oscar for him, of course. And you can see it talks about their different backgrounds coming together in this cause. And the film, if you watch it, it's about a handyman. He's the handyman who goes around and ends up in Arizona with these European nuns, helping them construct a chapel. And in the process, despite their different skin color and religion, end up creating a social bond. So it's a very positive message in the midst of the civil rights movement in 1964. Now, his story, he was born in the United States by accident, actually. His parents are from the Bahamas. They were on a business trip. Their parents were tomato farmers, and they were business trip in Florida, and he's born prematurely, months in advance. But he does have U.S. citizenship as a result. So after he is in the Bahamas growing up, he comes back to the U.S., joins the military, does a brief stint in the military during World War II, and thereafter ends up going into acting. He goes and applies and tries out for the Negro Theater League in New York City, and ends up not getting in because he has too thick of an island accent. So he trains himself to get that accent out of him. So he goes back and tries again and gets in this time, eventually performs on Broadway, and then makes it into Hollywood. Now, this film was not the first time that he was nominated for an Oscar. He had been nominated a few years before in a film called The Defiant Ones, which is him and another prisoner, a black and a white prisoner, being chained together as they escape and having to cooperate. So again, having a message of cooperation. And then another kind of cool film after his Oscar that he won is called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Some people may have heard of that one. I've seen certain clips of that one even since I was a kid. And that is about, in 1967, having a white family, and the girl in the family invites him as her boyfriend, and all the parents are a little bit unsettled about how are we going to accept this black man into the white family. And it's this really interesting film about that. Remember, at the time, there is at least a dozen, maybe 15 to 20 states in which interracial marriage is illegal. So that's a big deal to do in that movie. Now, he went on to win a lot of awards beyond that. He won multiple Lifetime Achievement Awards. Actually, I was a kid and I remember him winning the Oscar for an honorary Oscar for his lifetime of work. So I remember that part. I grew up in LA. I remember his Hollywood star, which is on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, I was not there for that ceremony, but I do know that, I've walked and seen it, which is pretty cool. He was even knighted by in Britain, which is particularly interesting because when he was when he was growing up in the Bahamas, where he grew up primarily, of course, that was an English colony. So it's kind of cool that he went on to become a knight from all that. And he even won here in the United States a Presidential Medal of Freedom. So a lot of lifetime achievement for him for a lot of the groundbreaking that he did. But that particular moment in 1964 when he wins the Oscar is the first time that you not only have a black male winning the award, but the lead actor or actress award going to someone who's African American.
It's amazing. So tell me, how do movies shape our perception of history? We chatted a little bit about that so far, but
yeah, you did. So think about you've seen Gone with the Wind. Of course, it's generations old, right? And think about how it might shape your perception of the American Civil War. Think about a film like Cold Mountain. It started as a book and then eventually became a movie and then an opera. I happen to have been at the world premiere of the opera of Cold Mountain, set in the Civil War. And so what movies do more than history books is shape our perception of what we think it was like at the time, whatever it is that they're depicting, whether it's the era, whether it's the role of the individuals, in the case of Gone with the Wind, between, of course, the black servant and the sort of the white main family of the story. And so you have these different perceptions that are formed. How about, anywhere from the ancient world, you have, 300, from Sparta to the Civil War stuff to, Braveheart, in the medieval times, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. These are all ways that we're portraying what we think the past was like. Now, of course, they may take artistic license, but I think in terms of influence, movies, more than anything else, shape how we think about the past. Most recently, of course, Oppenheimer was a huge blockbuster, helping shape how we think about the atomic bomb in the past. And those matter because sometimes people say, well, the history books say this or the history books don't say that. And I don't know if that's necessarily fair. It's usually not the history books that are saying or not saying things, because most people don't read history books. But what we're doing is we have these perceptions that are shaped by films. And so analyzing how films portray historic people and historic events and historic moments is a valuable thing to help question how we arrive to our perceptions of the past.
Well, wonderful. Well, this segment has been so much fun. It's always a pleasure to have you join us via Zoom for the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophia, and have fun with the award season. They're coming right up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, certainly. And everyone at home, if you want more Raffi, you can follow him on social media at The Celebrity Historian. But everyone in the meantime, stick around because coming up next on today's show, we're chatting with the Fargo Park District. Don't go anywhere.